Welcome back to another installment of the Purple Rain podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome back to episode 224 of the Purple Rain podcast. The Jadeveon Clowney episode, Brandon
Mhm.
Carr, Corey Graham, Dominique Foxworth. Uh, I'm not gonna. Sharice Wright doesn't deserve it. He was ass. Marcus Peters of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you all for coming through to this episode. Uh, Off season is unfortunately here. Hate to say it, we should be getting ready for a big game this Sunday, but unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards. But thank you all for coming through this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. Follow this guy on Twitter, on X on Instagram and on X at Sutton Def. You can follow me on Instagram and X at simplyas10 on X and simplyas10.prod on Instagram. Most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. You can go on there, get yourself something nice, get a friend, family member, somebody you know nice. Use code PRP for 20% off your whole order
Yeah.
and free international shipping. Yeah, like I said, it is the off season now, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, the Ravens are getting hoed. We're getting ran through by these other teams, taking our coaches, taking front office, assistant coaches. They're just taking them all. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. I don't like it either. First of all, first and foremost, thank you guys for watching this episode 224 of the Purple Rain podcast. If you're not watching this episode of the show live and you happen to be part of the hashtag replay gang, thank you so much for joining this episode. We appreciate and we love you guys just as much. Make sure you leave a comment down below that says hashtag replay gang and make sure you leave us your thoughts. Also, no matter if you're watching live or if you're part of the replay gang, make sure you like this video. We'd appreciate that. Like this video. And also, if you're new here, as I always say, leave that subscribe for us. I mean, we don't want you to give away your hard-earned sub or your hard-earned like for nothing. So make
Yeah.
sure you stick around for the next couple of minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to an hour, because we're going to be chatting about some pretty interesting Ravens topics. And I know that we have some hot takes. I know there's some coming from me. I know my guy Alex is feeling emotional about what's going on with the Ravens right now. We all are, man. We're still just a little bit over a week removed from that catastrophic meltdown in the AFC Championship game, a game that we have not graced in 12 years. So it still does sting. It's still fresh to me. I was very salty watching the highlights from the Pro Bowl yesterday. As you probably know, Alex, you saw my tweets. I was not a fan of any football festivities. I'm over everything, to be honest with you. I'm only here because I
Listen,
love the Rain Gang and I still love the Ravens no matter, what happens. What's up?
the big reason why I watched it, unfortunately, it may have been Patrick Queen's last time in black and purple. Um,
Fair.
if I wasn't posting videos for it, probably wouldn't have watched it. But I'll be honest, it was better than I expected. The guys looked like they were having fun. And even during a Pro Bowl, they couldn't get the camera off of somebody with the last name Kels. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. All over Jason. Yeah, it's got to
Mm,
go. But I understand why you don't want to watch it. A lot of people felt that way, and there was no defense. So
yeah.
yeah, just offense.
Yeah. I mean, I heard about the like the skills challenges that they were doing throughout the weekend. I
Mhm.
thought those were cool. I saw the whole the kick-tac-toe thing that I think Justin Tucker he brought it home for the AFC. There were a couple other
Only
games that looked
skills
pretty fun.
challenge the AFC won. That was
Yeah.
the only one the AFC won, and Justin Tucker did it. Everything else NFC
Really
won. Yep.
interesting. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of jaded, to say for lack of better words, from what happened about a week ago, about 8 days ago. But that's neither here nor there. We came here today to talk about some coaching staff, kind of personnel transactions that have been happening in the last week. And like my guy Alex said, they've been clearing house. It seems like the Chiefs sent us into a full rebuild when it comes to our coaching staff, and that's why the loss stings even more, right? It stings even more because like that was our opportunity. We had a star-studded coaching staff. I mean, Mike MacDonald is enough said right there. But I mean, there's guys underneath him, Weaver and Denard. Those guys were very valuable to the staff, extremely valuable, and you can't just replace them just like nothing. So we all know the NFL stands for not for long. Actually, so that's kind of what we're experiencing here. So it's definitely bittersweet. Love to see those guys get those jobs, but I'm a selfish Ravens fan first. You know what I mean? I want to see my Ravens, you know what I mean, do good. I don't care about the Seahawks. Listen, we do have a super chat donation. This one's coming from Cool Beans 95. Thank you so much for donating to the show.
Thank
We
you, sir.
appreciate that. Did you hear about the 49ers practice field problems? The NFL is putting its hands on the scales, not saying rigged, though. Interesting. I did not hear about that, actually. So thank you for bringing it
Didn't
up.
hear about. Yeah.
I mean,
I actually just pulled
practice.
it up on CBS Sports.
What are they saying?
Yeah, then Niners staffers are saying they're practicing at UNLV, and apparently it's the firmness of the natural grass the NFL laid over UNLV's artificial turf. Um, that's definitely something. Cool Beans, thank you for bringing this up. Like I said, I had no idea about this. I've kind of tried to stay off of socials and all that. They say it's not a health and safety issue; it's more a preference issue. They say that the surface meets all the NFL and NFLPA and independent standards. But yeah, thank you for bringing this up. That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Interesting little sentiment there. I mean, Cool Beans also follows it up by saying the field is spongy. And Roosh says the fix is in already. Shout out to Mod Roosh. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you for coming through per usual. But yeah, definitely interesting, especially considering the whole, Taylor Swift conspiracy and like she's going to be at the game and we know how much money this is bringing in for the NFL.
A new album released last night. It's announced last night.
Brand new album got released last night. Surprise album. A week before the Super Bowl, she wins a Grammy for best what was it, best album or best R&B or best singer? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, she definitely not R&B.
Definitely not R&B. Yeah, I don't know why I even said R&B. Was it like pop or something? What was the category like?
Had to be pop. Should have been mid, but had to be pop. Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't listened
to
me. I haven't listened to Taylor Swift's most recent album. I have a couple friends who are really into Taylor Swift, so maybe I should tap in. But nonetheless, it is interesting to say the least that the scales might tip towards the Chiefs' way. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some calls that went their way and didn't go the 49ers' way. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be interesting to see. I'm still going to watch the Super Bowl. No, I'm not that jaded. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's something to point out. And I think that it works for the NFL, right? To have this whole Taylor Swift thing going and for people to not really question it as fixed, as it being fixed, only because the Chiefs were already good. The Chiefs were already winning. Now, if this was a team that went from a 3-4 win season last year, right, to being where they are now, then yeah, it would be way more obvious than what they're doing. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on Taylor Swift and the Chiefs and company. We'll have time to talk about them on Thursday when we preview the Super Bowl. But for now, we are here to talk about the major shakeup in the Ravens coaching staff, man. I mean, first and foremost, of course, losing Mike MacDonald to the Seattle Seahawks. He is their head coach now. And then we replaced him by moving up Zachary Orr into that defensive coordinator spot. So, Alex, I want to come to you first on this one. Like, I want to get your takes on, one, Mike MacDonald leaving and what that means for this Ravens staff. Yeah. And what were your thoughts when you initially saw that Zach Orr was going to be the new defensive coordinator?
Yeah, so seeing Mike MacDonald leave, like, there was a small hope that he would stay, after seeing Ben Johnson turn down the commander's position and saying, he's going to stay in Detroit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, well, Mike, hopefully you do the same, but didn't happen. And it's a big difference. I think the Seahawks right now have a lot more talent than the Commanders. Commanders going through that transitional phase. You need somebody who can, work with the new ownership. But, McDonald's going to a Seahawks team where, kind of Pete Carroll was forced out. The Ravens, could take a little bit of a, look at what they did and apply it to their own team. But they have a pretty good team as it is. I think their defense is, that defense under Mike MacDonald, Devin Witherspoon, defensive player of the year next year. I mean, I'm looking at that. Jordan Brooks, I think if they can get him back, and to me right now, I'm looking at maybe a Geno Stone going to Seattle or even a Patrick Queen. But I think for MacDonald, it's the perfect spot for him. He's gonna love it there. He's gonna do great things there. And as for getting Zach Orr, that was my number one guy to replace him. Another young
Okay.
guy. He's been around Zach, been around Mike MacDonald. He was under him when MacDonald was our linebackers coach in 19. So
Mm.
it honestly is kind of like the next best thing, I'd say. I know they work hand in hand together. And after hearing what Zach Orr said on the Lounge podcast today, I don't know if you caught that.
No.
Kind of sounds like the philosophy is the same. Obviously, scheme, hopefully, it's kind of the same, but philosophy is the same way. Anything that's running, hit it, ask questions later. But I love it. I think Zach Orr is the best person to replace Mike MacDonald.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, losing Mike MacDonald, as I led the episode with, it stings. It hurts really bad because of the type of production that he was able to pull out of this defense
Mm.
in just 2 seasons as defensive coordinator. Our defense looked better the past 2 seasons, or the greater part of the last 2 seasons, than it did. I can confidently say in the past 6, 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, the defense is always pretty stout, but under Mike MacDonald, it looked different, and we saw that all throughout this year, even in the playoffs, even in the game we lost, right? Only giving up
Mm.
17 points to the Chiefs, to the defending champs. No second half points. No second half points allowed to the Texans either, I believe, right?
Correct.
Right. Pitching a
Yeah.
shutout in 2 separate halves of 2 separate games in the playoffs is unheard of. It's insane. I don't care how good your defense was throughout the whole regular season. To do that in the playoffs is
Damn.
really, really impressive. So losing him,
You're,
it hurts for sure. What do you
yeah,
got?
that hurts even more. You bringing that up, I
Yeah.
totally forgot that we shut him out in the second half, and that hurts even more now.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about a guy who's able to make adjustments on the fly in high stakes situations, like in postseason games, like that. The Seahawks got themselves a dude, and I hope they know that. I hope Seahawks fans really know that their future is bright with this guy. I mean, it's already been announced that he is going to be the one calling the plays on defense for Seattle. Um, That's awesome. So when you pair the fact that you have a defensive mastermind there, also with a young, cutting edge coach, which is something that I want to dive deeper into a little bit later in this episode. I mean, that seems to be the recipe, the formula for success. I mean, you look at some of the younger coaches around this league who have had success. Sean McVay and Shanahan and guys like that. I think that's the way to go. I think that is the next kind of era of NFL coaches, is kind of bringing in these young guys, these guys who are anywhere from 35 to maybe like 45, right? I mean, I think Mike MacDonald is 36 himself, I want to say. So relatively young guy, and he's going to do great things in Seattle. Now, as for getting Zachary Orr, getting him his promotion, and now he is the defensive coordinator, I like the move too. I can't say I love it, only because yes, I get the philosophy is still there. The intensity is definitely still there, if not even more now. But it's one of those things where I have to see it to believe it. I have to see it to believe it. I know he has the energy. I know he has the philosophy, but can he be a masterful enough coordinator on the defensive side to cause the same sort of chaos that Mike MacDonald did? I don't know. I don't know yet. So we're gonna have to wait a whole off season, right? A whole preseason, and probably a couple regular season games to really see what this guy's about when it comes to calling the plays on defense. Now, I wanted to just kind of focus on the energy that he brings, because obviously defense is a very you have to be very, very energetic, right? And I think that is the more emotional side of the ball as well, because you're trying to stop somebody from doing, what they're supposed to be doing. Is I know you've seen the clip, right? Of after Patrick Queen makes that big play, not Patrick Queen, but Roquan Smith makes that big play, comes to the sideline, and Zachary Orr is like in his grill, like not like a normal coach would do, right? I'm talking in his grill, hyping them up, like, listen, you're that boy. That play you just made was amazing. You know, get the fuck hype right now. Like, it was like one of those sort of things. We've all seen that clip. You've seen the clip, right? Yeah, you've seen the clip. Like, that type of energy is absolutely infectious. And I do think that this defense would want to run through a wall for this guy. I really, really do. I just have to see, him string together some of these game plans, because Mike MacDonald spoiled us. Those second half adjustments, he spoiled us with that. I need to see that again. If we are going to get back to the same spot that we were in, this year, we're going to need to somehow sort of, try to replicate that. So I love the energy that I see from Zachary Orr. I mean, he does seem like even more of a player's coach than Mike MacDonald was. But I'll have to see it to believe it when it comes to scheme and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all fair points you made there. I definitely would like to see, what else, what other guys, maybe if he has an influence on bringing in next linebackers coach, DL
Mm-hmm.
coach, and also a secondary coach. I guess this kind of segues us along now to those openings we have now. So you have an opening at linebackers coach, a name that could be is a Josh Bynes, former Raven, now retired. I even saw on Twitter it was Luke Kuechly kind of talking about the position, and someone's like, "Wow, he'd make a good linebacker coach." I'm not too sure if he's interested in that. And as for secondary, I'm not even sure who. Losing Denard Wilson to the Titans for their DC, and losing Anthony Weaver to the Dolphins for their DC. So now we have those two openings and an assistant head coach position because that's the title that Anthony Weaver held. So we're just getting picked off on defense. And there's a report that Zach Orr was offered the Packers defensive coordinator position as well. So if we don't promote him, he's gone. So if you're a coach and you're a Baltimore Raven coach, you're wanted big time. And
Yeah.
I mean, any thoughts on those two guys going as well?
I mean, I kind of suspected there would be a high turnover rate on this coaching staff after this season. And again, it's the not for long league. That's what NFL really stands for, if you ask me. But it's kind of it's the curse of being that team of almost. You know what I mean? Like being that team that is knocking on the door constantly, and they're really, really good, and they're revered around the league as a really, really excellent team. When you fall short after these deep playoff runs, oh, teams are coming to get you. And what I mean by that is they're coming to poach your staff, or they're coming to pick up some players that's maybe going to free agency. They're going to break you down. That's just how it is. It's a copycat league, right? You see Mike MacDonald doing something really great in Baltimore. Oh, they made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. Let's hire that guy as head coach. I just it's so fascinating because like in most other, well, I'll put it like this: the NFL is a association, really. It's a league of what 32 teams. It is interesting how in this league there is a lack of loyalty, right, to the franchise that
Mm-hmm.
you are currently on, that you currently belong to. Because I don't think in any other industry you can just like be working, you can be working at a job and then for like, I don't know. Well, maybe that's not a good example because I would probably do
No, it
that.
is because you're taking interviews in the middle of a playoff run,
Mm, yeah.
knowingly, openly.
It just feels like you have to buy in as a coach or as an NFL player, just as a staff member. If you're a coach or a player of an NFL franchise, you really have to buy into that franchise. So in order to do that, like year in and year out, you're only spending like a year or two with this team, and then you have to buy in again. It's a very weird culture because the fans buy into these people too. We bought into Mike MacDonald. I mean, we bought into Anthony Weaver, expected him to get promoted from within. We buy into these guys, and they can just be gone like that, like
Yeah.
that. So you really do have to count your blessings in this league and just take advantage of what you have while you have it. Just as simple as that. Because you don't know how long you'll have it. Let me see. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Lisa Ann is in the house. Says, "Will Zach use the same formula Mike used when he was here?" I mean, like Alex said, I think when it comes to like philosophy and how they want to coach the guys up, get them ready, and talk to them in meetings during the week and things like that, I think that'll probably stay the same. Maybe plus a little bit more energy because Zach Orr is, I mean, he's really young. Zach Orr is
Yeah.
literally
31, I think
3 years
somebody
older than me. Yeah, he's 31. Like I couldn't imagine myself being a coach in the NFL for probably another like 20, 25 years, and not even that because I don't have a football mind like those guys do. But when it comes to just from like a maturity and like a being seasoned standpoint, 31 is very young. Hell, 36 is still even very young
Yeah.
for our league that we know as the NFL. So when it comes to the same formula, philosophy wise, yes, but scheme wise, I do expect him to keep some of the installments that Mike MacDonald came up with and probably come up with some of his own too. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. It'd be interesting to see what he does differently. I just want him to be able to use Kyle Hamilton
Yeah.
the same way McDonald was using. And that's basically putting him anywhere and everywhere. Because Kyle Hamilton can play anywhere on this defense and make a play. Uh, and just confusing offenses. That's the biggest thing McDonald did. That's how we got 60 sacks last season.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't know when guys were going to rush them, when guys were going to drop off. We would drop Michael Pierce off into coverage, and we'd bring our linebackers. I wanted us to be what Ravens are. What is their defense about to throw at you? And you can be completely wrong and a bust to play.
Yeah.
And I think that'll happen. And just kind of think about 31 years old. I mean, obviously playing career cut short, but I've made this comparison to a couple of people. Kind of like D'Amico Ryans. I could see him, unfortunately, same exact thing as the Niners go through. The Niners lose Robert Saleh, highly touted head coach. D'Amico Ryans is a linebacker coach to DC, does really good things, then goes to a head coach somewhere. I can see this being the same exact thing. And it just is the same story. Used to play for the team, was a really, really good linebacker, now takes over. So I think it's gonna be good. Great things.
Let me see. Let's see here. I see RJ Horry is in the chat, says, love the podcast. Don't ever stop. Keep going. Thank you, RJ. We appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
I also see your comment about wanting to know about trading, getting another first round pick to get either Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, or Javon Baker and a tackle with our 30th first round pick. Yeah. So I know for me, I'm not into the draft season just yet. I'm not into the draft weeds just yet. I still have some of my guys, a lot of my guys sending me draft prospects left and right. Like, hey, Sutton, you should check out this guy. This guy would be good for the Ravens.
You're still healing.
Yeah, I'm still healing. I'm still healing right now, to be honest with you, RJ. Now's not the time. Okay. Just, you know what I mean? Like, give me, like, I feel bad too. I feel bad because I see a lot of super fans on Twitter and whatnot already posting their mock drafts, and they're just going full speed ahead. And I'm just like, do y'all not still feel this? Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Huh? You think so?
Yeah, it's kind of want to see what you can do to improve this team.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I can't do a mock until after free agency because you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like,
yeah, that's kind of how
some people just love it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt over the past couple of seasons as well. Like, around like March, like, around that time is when I start really, really looking at, draft prospects. But right now, especially after the season we had where it ends just like that, man, I'm still healing. J Prime says I've already moved on. More power to you, man. More power to you.
Respect.
I'm still hurting. Respect for sure. Okay. And even though we did lose, of course, you guys know here on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, we will still be pumping out content, even though the Ravens offseason is here. More content coming for coming about the Super Bowl on Thursday. And then, of course, you guys know the shorts will be coming out throughout the week about various things, various topics, whether it be about football. There's some stuff in there about MMA. Getting ready to start ramping up the basketball talk again because we're getting closer to All-Star break and then playoffs right after that.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just some interesting stuff going on in the NBA right now. So make sure you stay locked in, stay liking the video, subscribe to the channel as well because there's way more content where this came from. Okay. All right, Alex, I want to get into this really quick. So today there was a report that came out, right?
Okay.
That the Ravens are looking to hire one Jerry Rosberg, who notably was the special teams coordinator for the Ravens from 2008 to 2018. So for 10 years, he's been away from us for about 6 years now. He's coming back, but not as a special teams coordinator. The Ravens are looking to bring this Jerry Rosberg in for a role that has to do with game management.
Ah, interesting.
Game management. So that means that, typically you hear the word game manager. You think, oh, quarterbacks. Oh, are we talking about Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott? No. We're talking about a game manager that sits on the sidelines. Now, listen, I do understand that there are multiple teams who have a guy like this. I understand that.
Yes.
But the timing of it all is what really, really, really speaks to me. Again, we are 8 days removed from a catastrophic meltdown in the conference championship game where we got severely outcoached. severely outcoached. And now, again, 8 days later, we hear this news that the Ravens want to bring on a guy who can, basically, essentially help Harbaugh be a head coach and make the tough decisions. That's what we're saying. So I made a short earlier today where I was like, okay, so John Harbaugh, let's go through the notes here, right? John Harbaugh, he does not call the plays on offense, right? He does not call the plays on defense, nor does he call the plays on special teams. And he's a special teams specialist, guru. And now he will not have to make the game management decisions, for lack of better words, on Sundays. And that to me just makes me think, like, what exactly does John Harbaugh do? And why is it that Steve Bisciotti felt the need to bring in a guy, or whoever's call it was, felt the need to bring in a guy to help Harbaugh make some tough decisions when the going gets tough? What is he here for? Did we forget that back in 2017, John Harbaugh's seat was hot? His coaching seat was hot. It was warming up. I'll never forget watching the Rich Eisen show and them saying or hinting at the fact that it could be Harbaugh's last season because he hasn't done anything. And then we got introduced to Lamar Jackson as a Baltimore Raven, and he installed a nice little AC unit right underneath John Harbaugh's coaching seat. So it cooled off real nice and good like. And here we are, 6 years later, still no Super Bowl, and we suffer from the same issues every single season in the playoffs, it seems like. So I want to get your take on this, Alex. What was your initial knee-jerk reaction after a couple hours? What did you think about it? Did you calm down? Me, again, I'm still a little bit hurt. I'm still a little bit jaded from what happened. I'm still a little bit hurt from only giving our running back 6 touches in the AFC Championship game after being the number 1 ranked offense, damn near number 1 ranked rushing offense in the league, right? Going against a bottom tier rushing defense. 6 runs. Then 8 days after that happened, we go and get somebody who specializes in game management. Alex, what were your thoughts on this?
I really liked the hiring. I'll tell you that. I thought it was smart. I thought Jerry Rosberg, he's a great football mind, and it's really no coincidence that when he leaves, our special teams drops off. Think about how many blocked field goals and blocked extra points we've had in the past couple of seasons. Think about a punt return we gave up in the playoffs. Think about a blocked punt against the Steelers this year, which low-key kind of cost us the game in week 5. But what I thought of to this, I'm like, we just hired a babysitter for our head coach. Or we hired like a teacher, I'd say. Well, not really a teacher, but it's like somebody else to sit here and tell you what to do and help you out. Like, you're the head coach. And it's not like I said, I know that head coaches that don't call plays, they have this. But it's not like this is a D'Amico Ryans. This isn't a first-time head coach. It's not one of those guys. No, like, Harbaugh has been here for what? Since 08? 16? No, not,
Yeah.
16. 2024. 16th year with the Ravens. Why? Like, what are you doing? And is it just the rah-rah? Is it the players love you? I know Odell Beckham spoke highly of Harbaugh. I'm just kind of confused by it. And maybe it's the offseason, we have nothing to talk about. But it just feels like there's something else. Like you said, 8 days after, you give your running backs 6 carries. And the running back you signed off the street, who showed that he has life in those legs, Dalvin Cook, didn't get 1 carry that game. You were down by 10 points. 10 points! And you said you went in a 2-minute drill in the second half. There was 30 minutes left to play, and you went into the 2-minute offense. And guess how many points you scored from that? 3. And this happens.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, the thing is the timing of it all, right? I mean, I want to say that this is John Harbaugh's last year on his contract coming up. Is that right?
I think it's next year, actually. I'll pull it up as we're speaking about it.
If it's next year, some decisions need to be made now. We need to figure out, okay, through 25. Okay, so it would be, okay. next year would be his last year, right?
Yep.
Through the 2024-2025
Yep.
season. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, well, it's just we are literally at a crossroads right now as Ravens fans. It's like we're gonna stick it out one more year with Harbaugh and potentially face the same postseason issues, right? And waste another year of Lamar Jackson's career. I mean, he's already going into year 7 next year. And when you start getting into year 7, you're a veteran. You are a certified, stamped veteran, of course.
Oh,
And
Lamar.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was a veteran this year. I mean, you're in your second
Oh, for
contract.
sure.
If you're a rookie, you're vet.
Oh, yeah. For sure, for sure. But I mean, year 7, there's just something about the number 7, at least to me. Like you're getting up there, right? You're getting up there. Um, yeah, if we don't make anything happen this year, obviously I don't think they're going to renew Harbaugh's contract. But I'd argue that they probably need to move on sooner. They probably need to move on sooner, man. It just I know that this team loves Harbaugh, right? The players they love Harbaugh. They say he's a player's coach, things like that. But at a certain point, the relationship just gets stale. It just gets stale, and it's okay. It's okay. These things happen. Relationships run their course. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, Bill Belichick and the Patriots, Andy Reid and the Eagles. Relationships run their course, and I think the same thing has happened here. And all we're really doing right now is just kind of lying to ourselves. It's like you stay in that toxic relationship for a little bit too long, and you're kind of lying to yourself, like, hey, you know what? Things could get better. Oh, they just did that. They made this
Yep.
improvement in their life. They could get better, right? We could
They
work this
said this
out.
to me. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that that's where we're at right now. And Steve Bisciotti is the main, I'd say, like culprit to all this because he ultimately has the power to kind of shut this whole operation, this Harbaugh operation down. And I think that there needs to be some thought given to it. And to be honest with you, as sad as it is to say, I mean, I grew up watching John Harbaugh for most of my Ravens fandom, but I'm here to tell you right now, if it's not getting us to the promised land, which it hasn't, and we've seen the same issues kind of over and over and over again, some changes need to be made. They were about to be made in 2017. The only difference between 2017 and now is Lamar Jackson. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. And I don't know if ownership is not seeing that. I don't know if EDC is not seeing that, but it's clear as day to me and a lot of us other fans as well that, Lamar Jackson is the common denominator here and why the Ravens have been so successful. I don't think you can attribute most of the success the Ravens have had in the past half a decade to John Harbaugh over Lamar. I don't think you can. When you're talking about like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you might be able to say it's like 50-50, 60-40, something like that, right? But with Harbaugh and Lamar, oh no, it's like 80% Lamar Jackson and 20% John Harbaugh. So, yeah.
I know it was super chat. I'm just looking back at our previous head coach, obviously Brian Billick. I'm just looking, won Super Bowl in 2000. Next year, we win the wild card against the Dolphins and lose to the Steelers.
Yeah.
Missed the playoffs in 02, losing the wild card in 03, missed it in 04, missed it in 05, 13-3 in 06, lose 15-6 to the Colts. One seed and choke. That's kind of a recurring theme with the Ravens. Then we go 5-11, and then gets fired. I look at Harbaugh, some of his stuff. I mean, we win the Super Bowl, miss it in 13, lose in the divisional in 14, miss it in 15, 16, 17, and then 18 is when Lamar comes in, and then make the playoffs, miss it, make it. I just don't know what it's going to take.
Right.
And I feel like as long as we have Lamar Jackson, we're not going to go 5-11 if he's healthy. It's as simple as that. As long as he's our quarterback, I think we'll make the playoffs, whether it be wild card or win the division. But if he's healthy, this team's not going 5-11.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll take. I really don't That's why if we didn't get him back, I would like to see him go to a Niners. Like what he would do in the Shanahan system. With all due respect, look what Brock Purdy's doing. I think Lamar Jackson's a hell of a better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Look, imagine what he would have done. So I would like to see him with a coach that would just offer a little bit more, offensively. And I sat there and listened to him and EDC talk in this postseason presser, and Lamar wants to be involved in this offense. Like, yeah, he should be. he should have been as soon as the contract was signed. I don't know why him saying that was like the difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if you're a coach too, you can't sit here and tell me that us being down 10, you going 2-minute offense. Because imagine, what was it? How the Niners were down by 17 points, right?
Right.
24-7.
Yeah.
Were they still running with Christian McCaffrey in the second half?
Of course.
You're goddamn right they were.
The bread and butter.
Of course they were.
Why wouldn't they?
So why do you go away from yours, Harbaugh, Ravens? Because now one team's in the Super Bowl and we're at home. That is why I get so frustrated, because I see other teams just prove us wrong. They just lie straight to our face. You can't run the ball down 10. And you're at home, and the fans were giving you noise the whole fucking time. Don't give me that, bro. Don't give me that.
Exactly. Let me see. Cool Beans 95 with another super chat donation. Thank you so much, bro. You're going crazy tonight. Says it took a head coaching change for John Elway to win a Super Bowl. I respect John Harbaugh, but a change is needed. And I gotta say, I agree, man. I agree. Like I said, relationships, they run their course. And I think it's run its course here in Baltimore between the Ravens and John Harbaugh. And you brought up the point that, those 2000s Ravens, there was some playoff success, right? And then they go 5-11. And as soon as we go 5-11, now it's time for the coaching change. Problem is, also, like you said, we're not going 5-11 under a healthy Lamar Jackson-led team. It's just not going to happen. So Harbaugh is kind of like, and he's in like what they would call like the catbird seat right now. I mean, he kind of holds the cards, because it seems like nobody in that front office or wants to really hold Harbaugh accountable. And I think that the issue is, how people say that wins aren't a quarterback stat.
Yeah.
I think that the front office looks at wins as a coach's stat, which I think is fair. But when you take all those regular season wins that we've accumulated over the past couple of years, or just the Lamar era in general, I think that they're looking at those years and all those wins and kind of attributing it more to a John Harbaugh, or maybe equally attributing it to John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson at the same time, which I don't think should be the case. Harbaugh's seat should have stayed hot, or at least warm, right? Even after Lamar Jackson. After we saw kind of like the pattern of what was happening in the playoffs, I know 1 year it was the insane amount of drops against the Titans, and then the first season against the Chargers, it was the 7-8 DBs on the field, and we didn't know how to respond. It's all I know is that something's got to give. Something's got to give, because this team is too damn good to be falling just short every single season. Every single season. I don't really have too much else to say on the topic. I do want to see what else you guys are saying here in the chat, but go ahead, Alex.
I mean, I think the worst part is I do like John Harbaugh. I do think he's a good coach. But there's a reason why the Eagles and Andy Reid parted ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why these coaches and teams part ways, and sometimes it's best for both parties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I think he's a great coach. I think he's a player's coach. There's a reason why these players love him. He's kind of captured, some of the fans' hearts as well. But it's one thing if we go out there and we just get beat by the team, and just like we do beat ourselves as well, not running it more. But it's just the same thing over and over again in the playoffs, like you said. It's the same mistakes. And it's funny, we get rid of Greg Roman. And what does the offense do? I think they progress. Obviously, there was the blip. We get rid of Steve Saunders. And what happened, Sutton? What happened?
Got healthy.
I'm going to say.
Sometimes change is good. We do have another super chat donation. This one's coming from Max Offit, Mystic Max himself. Thank you so much, dropping the 10-piece in the chat, making it rain. Here on episode 224 of the Purple Rain podcast. Like the video for Max, like the video for Cool Beans. We appreciate these guys. Says, I got to disagree here. I thought Harbaugh made good in-game decisions this year, ongoing for it, taking points, etc. Hate that we only ran 6 times, but if Zay does not reach, I think we win that game. Okay, I mean, yeah, you could definitely say that there were some good in-game decisions, and we're not sitting up here saying that Harbaugh is wrong at around every corner. He's not. But I think the difference is, like, when the going really gets tough in the postseason and the lights are bright, you can't panic. You cannot panic, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what the Ravens did. Even though that Harbaugh came out of that second half, uh, he ran out on the field for the second half, kind of telling the reporter like, "Look, we just got to calm down. We'll be fine. We're gonna start doing this, that, and the third." And then none of it happened. Okay, it didn't happen. I think we tried to establish the run like one drive. We ran the ball. Gus got like maybe a yard or two, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna go away from it again." That's what happened. Like I thought we panicked after getting punched in the mouth. Travis Kelce even said it on his podcast. He said he knew if the Chiefs put the pedal to the metal early and scored some points, that would spook the Ravens out of their game plan. And what happened?
Bro.
It's exactly what happened.
I
So I
hate
mean,
that he was
yeah,
right
I hate
too.
that he was right, but
Oh,
he was 100% spot on. That's what happened. So Max, I do think that Harbaugh has had some really, really good moments, especially in the regular season, making some of the decisions he has. And a lot of that, again, has to do with Lamar Jackson heroics. But when the heroics aren't necessarily there and they're not firing on all cylinders like they normally would with NFL MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson, what are you going to do to mitigate that? And it doesn't really seem like he had any answers for it, because obviously if he did, Gus and Justice Hill would have got more than 6 carries, especially with Gus Edwards averaging 5 yards a pop that game. Justice Hill doing what he's been doing in the postseason throughout his whole entire career when he's gotten the opportunities. Even had a couple big plays in that second half down the stretch, moving the chains. I know you guys remember those couple of catches. Why did we go away from that?
yeah.
And I think I heard at the postseason press conference that happened the other day, when somebody asked him about that, I think that he said something to the degree of he was like, you know, we get down, we call our plays, and then there were checks made at the line of scrimmage, kind of alluding to the fact that Lamar Jackson has some control down there, so he might have checked out of some of these runs that were actually called originally. What do you think about that?
And if that's so, I mean, there's blame on him as well. I think obviously Lamar didn't play his best, and even watching the mic'd up that the NFL put out, that pick he threw in the triple coverage, he said that was a dumbass throw, and he couldn't have been more right. It really was. It's probably one of the worst throws he's ever made in his career. PI or not, we can argue about it all night long. Don't really care. It was a bad throw,
Right.
and it felt like that wasn't the Ravens, that we watch. And I respect him for this. I'm not sitting here saying like fire him. Like I'm not at the pitchfork like it was with Greg Roman, because I know that who are you going to get, especially right now. But if things, I don't want to say give it one more season, but unfortunately this season now, like show me something different. I want to say like I'm not really going to try not to care until the postseason, because I know this team will make the playoffs. This team is a great regular season team, and when people make the Doc Rivers comparisons, like that's actually facts. It couldn't have been more spot on with those comparisons.
Doc
He won with
Rivers, Joel Embiid, James Harden. The list goes on and on.
yeah, and just like I feel bad because like they all play for your Sixers too.
Yeah,
That's the worst part.
That's
Like
the painful part.
this feels like this hits home more than anything for you.
Yeah. Well, Harden's not with us anymore. He's a Clipper now. But
Yeah,
when he was with us, it definitely did feel that way,
yeah.
because I mean the postseason success was just never there. But in the regular season, oh, we had their number. We had everybody's
Big
number in the regular
games.
season. Big games, exactly.
Think about every big game the Ravens put on prime time. It feels like we win it on in the regular season,
Hmm.
postseason. It's like he out coached D'Amico Ryans. I expect you to. That's his first year,
Hmm.
and like maybe if it's not Andy Reid, like I said, he always gets weird when he faces Andy Reid, who he learned from. He did it in 2012, but like you did it against Bill Belichick, and then your brother. Like if you did it against your brother, you can do it against anybody.
Yeah.
Like
Let me
maybe
see.
maybe we have to wait for Andy Reid to retire, and then maybe it's our time. Maybe that's just like the only thing holding him back.
Maybe, man. I'm of the school of thought that a change needs to be made. If not this year, then maybe potentially next season. Because it seems like we've reached kind of a ceiling. We kind of hit a ceiling, and
That's
that
great.
happens. Another super chat donation coming from the Trigger Man,
Man, thank you.
dropping the 5 piece in the chat, also making it rain here on episode 224 of the Purple Rain podcast. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that like button right now, right here, right now. We're going to actually take 5 seconds of silence for you guys to do so. Ready and go. All right. So hopefully you've hit the like button by now. And if you haven't, maybe, consider it, right? If you just got in here, right? Just maybe 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, you're not really sure what we're talking about yet. You don't want to give away your hard-earned like. Stick around for a few more minutes or hit that rewind button. I think we got some good content tonight. Says, give me Eric Bieniemy at head coach / play caller. We need an offensive thinking coach. Harbaugh's time is up. Love McDonald, but Roquan runs that defense. I think these are
Mhm.
some pretty solid points here. I'm on the record saying that Roquan Smith is the quarterback of the defense. So I definitely do think that he still runs the defense, and the intensity that he's going to get from Zach Orr on the sidelines and the intensity that he just naturally has on the field, like you're never going to be able to turn this guy off. You know what I mean,
No.
Roquan Smith. So I'm excited to see him, play under Zach Orr and how that goes. And we'll miss McDonald, of course. I think I can speak for everybody when I say that. In terms of getting Eric Bieniemy at head coach and play caller, that I don't know about. And the only reason why is because I feel like initially it would be a culture shock to this organization because Harbaugh and Bieniemy have two drastically different styles when it comes to coaching. I don't think Eric Bieniemy is a player's coach. He's not. I think he is a coach's coach. I think that's kind of like the general consensus around the league. He's very hard on his guys, very hard on his guys. And not to say that John Harbaugh is not hard on his guys, but we've heard that it is to a totally different level when it comes to Bieniemy. So I would rather have a guy that's going to bring some fresh ideas to the offense and the defense, of course, just to the team overall, to the energy and the culture, but also still kind of has some of that. I don't want to say easygoingness, but just kind of relatability, players coach attributes that Harbaugh has. Again, listen, guys, we're not saying that Harbaugh is just the bane of our existence. We're not saying that. We're just saying that, we've seen a bunch of other changes be made to this team and this organization that have gotten us very small incremental steps climbing up the ladder. And Harbaugh's the only position that hasn't been looked at as maybe we should change something there. So my answer, play caller, sure, fine. Head coach, not really.
Um, I don't. For me as a head coach, I don't know because there's a reason why he hasn't been a head coach yet. I don't know what it is. Like how Steve Spagnuolo hasn't been a head coach again. The Chiefs' defensive coordinator. Like they just hold on to their guys, even with all the
Well,
success.
I think
The Ravens had this great season
real quick with Spags, I think it's a little bit different because Steve
with age.
Spagnuolo, well, his age, and also he's had a tenure as a head coach before, and
Yeah,
he had a very bad stretch for a little while. So I think
yeah,
teams are
no,
kind of
that
scarred. Organizations are like, oh, Steve Spagnuolo, he's been around the block. He wasn't the greatest as head coach, so we're just gonna let him do his thing with the Chiefs. And the Chiefs got really lucky in that regard, to be honest with you. But go ahead.
so I look at that and I'm like Raheem Morris. Like he didn't have his best, as a head coach. But I guess he's 47. Spag's older than him. It's just funny they get to keep one of their other coaches. Maybe I'm just salty, whatever. Um, but as a play caller, I don't think they bring him in. I'll be honest. Like you said, I think too much of a culture shock, and even if it made us better, I don't think they bring him in.
Mm,
Um, I'm on the record. I think a couple years ago I said I would like him to come in. If he wanted to leave there, and knows when the whole stuff with Roman was going on, but would he take another position at? He wouldn't even be OC because Monken's still here. You know
yeah,
what
yeah,
what
exactly.
what would he hold? If Roman was still here, I'd be all for it. But I don't know what position he'd hold.
All right. Okay. All right, listen, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and get into some questions. We're gonna take some questions from the Rain Gang here. Make sure you guys drop your questions down below in the chat. If you're not watching this episode 224 of the Purple Rain Podcast live, you happen to be part of the hashtag Replay Gang. Thank you so much for joining again. Make sure you drop your questions, comments, concerns, whatever you got. Drop them down below in the comment section because we do get to those as well. Just make sure you leave a hashtag Replay Gang next to it so we know that you're part of the beloved Replay Gang. Okay. We'll start out with this one here. The Trigger Man says, "Is Bill Belichick a player's coach? If not, give me the team's coach." Belichick, no, I don't. I don't think that he's a player's coach, so to say. He's also kind of like a very hard nosed guy, stick to the book, my way or the highway, which is most coaches, notably. But if you, I can't say that he's kind of like in the middle. I'd say he kind of leans more towards teams coach than players coach, but he's not too far off in the middle.
He also wants to be a GM, which is a big reason why he's not a coach right now. He wanted more front office control from
Yeah.
reports.
Let's see. We have another question here. This one's coming from Lisa Ann. Very interesting question here. It says, will there ever be a woman coaching in the NFL? And I think yes.
There are.
Like
As a head coach?
Yeah, head coach.
Because I know there are some right now.
Mm-hmm. And
as a
that
head
just
coach.
tells you right there. I mean, if there are some already, eventually there's gonna be some female head coaches. I think that's just the way that nature goes. You know, that's just a natural progression of things.
Yeah, I think there'd be a woman GM before woman coach, like before woman head coach.
I can see that. I can see that.
Because in baseball, they had that. I could definitely see that being first.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, because being a head coach, you really do have to understand men. You know, because I mean, you're leading over 50 of them, right? So if you don't have that same, I want to be careful with what I say here. I don't want to sound like misogynist or anything like that.
It's hard to control men. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean it is.
It's hard.
It is. So like a lot of it takes another grown man to do that. You know, hard and tough. You know, emotions don't take the forefront. You know, that sort of thing. So I think eventually, yes, we will see a woman being a head coach in the NFL. It's going to be an amazing day. To be honest with you, like that's going to be monumental for this league, and a lot of people won't like it, but I will be an advocate for it because I do feel like, you know, when it comes to, of course, coaching, if she can call some damn plays, you know, if she can call herself a you know, a nice ass offense or defense, or she can just simply galvanize the troops, however way she does it. What more can you ask for? So I definitely do think we'll see it. That's a great question, though, Lisa. Great question. A lot of nuance to that.
If she can give her running backs more than 6 rushes in the conference championship, sign me up. Sign me up. I am here and I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for it.
Me too. Lisa says she would love it. Yeah, likewise. Okay, Max dropping a question in here. It says top draft priority besides offensive tackle. This is another great question. What do you think?
I'm gonna throw a DB, possibly edge, or DB or edge, and then depending what we do in the free agency, I don't want us to go first round receiver again. It feels like we just keep one, just picking and picking and picking, but I think that's in the cards as well if a receiver were to drop.
I also agree. I think if a receiver drops, then we will go ahead and try to bring somebody in. If we do end up drafting a receiver in the first round again, cannot be the little guy archetype. Sorry, I've caught a lot of flack for this over the past week or so, but I need a big body. I'm sorry, I need a possession receiver, not somebody who's going to make a million cuts after they touch the ball. I need somebody who's going to catch the ball and the defenders fear him. Debo Samuel, AJ Brown. You know what I mean? I need DK Metcalf. Exactly. I need guys, somebody like that. That Lamar can build a rapport with, and then come playoff time, he can go to him 6, 7, 8 times a game and not have to worry about it. I love me some Zay Flowers, and Raven Ron says height is not a skill. But listen, physicality is everything in this game.
Brandon Ayuk. He's not the biggest, but he's out there fighting.
Physicality.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra is not the biggest guy.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned. It takes 3 or 4 guys to get him down.
And see, my guy Dre is dropping in here some potential prospects. Dre, if you don't mind, if you have my socials, can you DM me these guys' names? DM me these guys' names. I want to do a deep dive on some of these receivers coming out of this year's draft. Let me see. So I wanted to bring up Raven Ron says O-line, and inside linebacker should be the priorities. I like the O-line pick. I do. I do want to see what Andrew Voorhees looks like, the tackle we picked up last year, who basically redshirted for us. I want to see. I want to see what he has to offer. But I wouldn't hate O-line, and I wouldn't hate edge rusher. If the right
Yeah.
guy is there, I would not hate edge rusher.
It depends what we do. I mean, are we gonna get Clowney back or Van Noy?
You know what? That's
I don't.
another question. That's another question. Which one of these free agents that we picked up this year, whether it be Van Noy, Clowney, Odell, which one of those guys do you want back?
Aguilar
Aguilar.
as like a fourth or fifth, like on a very cheap deal. I'd take back. I'd take back Clowney.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying Aguilar as a 4 or 5. He exceeded what I thought was gonna happen. He was making good catches, and of course he has a drop in the playoffs. But I thought he was pretty good before we got him. But Van Noy and Clowney I take back.
Yeah.
I unfortunately don't think Odell is back. I saw Dylan brought it up. If there's a free agent receiver I want, Michael Pittman. I would bring Michael Pittman in a heartbeat. He's not like the sexiest name, but if you look at his stats, he produces and he can
he beat
be
us
that
last
physical
year.
guy. Yep, he can be that physical guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He went up over what? 2-3 Ravens in that game? Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. MDT Sports says we need a proven receiver. Sure, yeah.
And if Mike Evans thinks he's getting 25 to 30 million, he's smoking dick. That is not happening.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still kind of mad at the fact
Drops
that
he
we
had
did
this
not
year.
end up bringing in DeAndre Hopkins as opposed to Odell Beckham Jr. this past season. I think that would have changed a lot in hindsight, just looking back on it. Yeah, I'm going to leave that at that. Captain Gamer says, I disagree with DB because of Stevens and Humphrey. We need depth there, which we could get in the 3rd and 4th round.
I want to say DB because I'm by the school of thought you can never have enough DBs. I just don't know. After them, who do we have? Darby's a free agent. Millette, free agent.
Yeah.
What has Pepe Williams shown us? What has Armour Davis shown us?
Right. Next to nothing. The DB bug did not bite us as hard this year as it has in years past. So this issue isn't as fresh in my mind right now. But now that you're bringing it up, yeah, I mean, I kind of do agree. But honestly, at the same time, I kind of agree with Captain Gamer here because I do think that Stevens took that next step. I do think that Humphrey's going to come back. I don't want to say better than ever, but he's going to be solid next year. Those are two guys right there. So if you get, some guys in the 3rd, 4th round, I think that could suffice. There are other, positions of need on this team that I think kind of take precedence over that. So I can see both sides there. I can see both sides. Let me see. Triggerman also says, is it strange that Lamar is the only top quarterback that has never had a stud wide receiver in their prime, not even a stud running back in his prime? I say quit it with the drafting wide receivers.
I'm behind that. I mean, there's a stud running back I would like us to pick up in free agency. A couple of them. Yeah, this running back and wide receiver class is deep in free agency. Like you can get some really good guys this year, which is why I hope he restructures some guys and maybe let some guys go. Yeah.
Okay. I see a couple of you guys in the chat dropping some more wide receiver prospects. My guy Robert T. Lewis says Sutton, Johnny Wilson, 6'7", 230. Okay.
All right. I thought he was saying like trade for Cortland Sutton because I'd be cool with that. I think Cortland Sutton, if he was out there, I wouldn't mind that. If we traded for Cortland Sutton, you got to get that jersey. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd have to. I mean, I'd have no choice. Okay. Let's see. Here is Raven Ron says Zay Flowers can be a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
I believe. I can get behind that for sure. He's just going to have to. There's some maturity things that Zay Flowers has to, I think, work on. All the flexing after big plays, you got to cut that out. I mean, he did it week 1 against the Texans. A lot of people don't remember. Catches a big ball down week 2. Who did we play week 1? We played the Texans week 1.
And Bengals week 2, he did it mid-play.
Okay, got you. But I remember that one against it was against the Texans, that deep ball. He catches it, falls down, gets back up, immediately flexes, but there was no whistle blown, so he tries to wiggle around, keep running. That was the Texans game, right?
Bengals.
That was Bengals. Wow. Time flies. Yeah, so we saw him doing that in week 2, right? And I don't want to say it cost him a touchdown. I don't know if he could have ended up scoring on that play if he hadn't gotten up and immediately flexed his muscles. but did the same thing in the AFC Championship game. Gets up, flexes on L'Jarius Sneed. Couple plays later, L'Jarius Sneed comes in.
Yeah.
There are some, I know that was such a humbling experience for Zay Flowers, and I think he needed that. It was the wrong time, wrong place, and that's why I think it'll probably sting and probably sit with him a little bit more. But hopefully that is what he needs to kind of grow up a little bit, because I love his game. I love his game on the field, but I mean, you got to be a little bit more composed and stoic than that in this league. This is a grown man's league. Okay. Raven Ron, we'll go ahead and end it with this question here. It says, what do we even do with Rashad Bateman? Can he and Lamar ever get on the same page?
I think this offseason is crucial. If he doesn't request a trade, if he requested a trade, I completely understand it. Would not be mad at him one bit. But if he is a Raven next year, I would love to see them to go down to Florida or wherever they want to meet up, get some work in, get on the same page, and then be better. And then Bateman gets a big payday.
Yeah, I think the thing with Bateman is that he has to be the far and away intentional wide receiver one, first look in the progression in order to be as successful as we want him to be. Because I've said it many a times on this show, I think that Rashad Bateman is an on-schedule receiver playing with an off-schedule quarterback. That's exactly what it is. I mean, Lamar Jackson's the type of guy where, there's like 2 plays within one, right? Because he'll scramble around after the first play breaks down. Everybody else is like, oh, shit, scramble drill. Let's just try to get open. And Bateman's the guy like, well, I was open on the first play. I was open within 2-3 seconds. Why didn't you get me the ball? Why? Because he was looking at Mark Andrews first. He was looking at Zay Flowers first. And then when he got to you, you were covered. Or it was already too late. You get strip sacked or something like that. This exact thing just happened in the AFC Championship game. So like you said, if he goes to another team where he becomes like that wide receiver one, they draw plays just for him where he is the first read through in these progressions, he's going to shine. He is going to shine. And as Ravens fans are going to hate it, but that just is what it is. I think that we missed on Rashad Bateman, unfortunately, because he's not the prototypical or not the most practical receiver for Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers is. But Rashad Bateman, not so much as we would want him to be. Yeah. You have any thoughts on that?
I'm just thinking back to week 1, 2022, deep ball against the Jets, touchdown.
Yeah. Boy. The Dolphins touchdown where he catches the slant and houses it. Like, you see what happens when you're on time with Rashad Bateman, right? You see what happens.
I believe in 7. I just don't think he'll get his best usage here, unfortunately. Unless something drastic changes off season, which very well could happen.
Let's see. Robert T. Lewis says that sounds like a Lamar problem. Hard to say. I don't think it's a Lamar problem necessarily. I think, yes, they are 2 different types of players, and one is like more on schedule, on script. One is more off schedule, off script. But you have to consider a couple of things. The Ravens are supposedly, I don't know what happened in that conference game, a run-first offense, right? Run-first offense. And then you couple that with the fact that Rashad Bateman is so far down the totem pole in wide receiver. So, I mean, you got Zay Flowers that you got to look at before Rashad Bateman. You got Zay Flowers. You got Mark Andrews. You got Isaiah Likely now. You've got last year it was Odell Beckham Jr. So many more guys to look for before you really key in on a Rashad Bateman, So I don't think it's necessarily a Lamar problem. I think it's partially just the way that Lamar plays coupled with the offense that we run, So at the end of the day, it's just not the best fit, to be honest. But yeah, we are going to go ahead and leave it there for the question segment. And thus, this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 224. Listen, still over 60 people watching live right now. Thank you guys so much for joining. Make sure you like the video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new and you enjoy the content you just consumed. We'd appreciate that. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, like you see down below. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. And you can find this guy over here, Simply as10 on Twitter and simplyas10.prod on Instagram. And like he led the episode with, you can go on manscaped.com. You guys already know the drill. You can go on manscaped.com, get yourself anything you want, stack your cart to the ceiling. And guess what? You're going to save yourself 20% off by using our code PRP at checkout. Plus, that gives you free international shipping as well. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining this episode of the show. Everybody who watched, commented, donated, the whole 9 yards. We love you guys. We appreciate it, and we know it's going to be a very long off season coming up. Right, we're getting our last football game on Sunday until what, August, September. So it's going to be a ride, but we will be here for every step of the way. So make sure you stay locked in with us, because we will be locked in with you all. With that being said, again, love you guys. This has been your boy Sutton Def, and with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I will be watching the USFL XFL in the spring.
Oh yeah,
I will be
it'll be
rooting
on.
on the DC Defenders.
Okay.
But it's not NFL, But I will be. I will be watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last NFL games Sundays, kind of bittersweet. Not gonna lie, it's been a long season. Especially when we went out. I was like, yeah, season just end. But like you said, thank you for coming through, for watching. I know it's, for some people it's hard to watch and talk about the way the season ended, but I appreciate everybody coming through. As always, stay positive, test negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God, man. It's been episode 224 of the Purple Rain Podcast. We're going to catch you guys